welcome back to Vlogmas. I have got a very quick video for you with lots of delicious recipes. A lot of these bits and bobs do include some like protein supplements and stuff, but there's definitely alternatives there. You don't necessarily have to put the supplements in, but just for me, they just keep the protein high and a little bit more low calories than normal. But we have some truffles, we have got some overnight oats, and a couple of other really Christmassy, warm, wintry bits for you. But I'm super excited for you to watch, and I really hope you enjoy. Here we go. Okay, so we are starting off with Tiramisu Overnight Oats. These were so good and they're so easy for food prep, so I would definitely recommend trying any overnight oats, but tiramisu particularly was really delicious. So we started off with 40 grams of oats, 1 scoop of the Impact Whey protein powder from My Protein. I would choose any flavour. You can actually get a tiramisu flavour, but I just use vanilla because I like it. Then I also used 1 tablespoon of maple syrup. This was a low calorie maple syrup, and then 120 ml of milk. I then literally mixed everything together and added half a teaspoon of coffee. I'm not a massive coffee fan, so I obviously just added half a teaspoon, but I'm sure that a full teaspoon would be plenty if you prefer a more coffee taste. And then again, I mixed this all together and I refrigerated this little tub overnight, obviously for around 12 hours. I think the best thing with overnight oats is that you can keep them high protein. So if you're someone who finds it quite hard to fit your protein in, especially first thing in the morning, then this is a perfect alternative for you, rather than eating like eggs, bacon, whatever that may be. And I always recommend getting protein in your first meal if you struggle to get it in, because then you don't have to think about it for the rest of the day, or not as much anyway. So I then used some sponge fingers and soaked them into the coffee. This is obviously the next morning. And then you just essentially start layering. So I put some oats down and then I added some of the sponge fingers on top. And then again, added some oats, sponge fingers, and so on until it looked a little bit more like a tiramisu. So I did use jumbo oats here, but you can use any oats, whatever you prefer. I wouldn't recommend particularly using instant oats. That's a little bit too creamy, but definitely just normal rolled oats would be absolutely fine. I then layered on top with some Greek yogurt. The best one for this is phage. I don't actually know how you say it properly, phage. I'm not gonna pretend that I know exactly what I'm saying. And then placing some cocoa on the top just to add a little bit of chocolate flavor. But guys, this was honestly so good. The maple syrup was really tasty in it and made the whole thing super sweet. And it actually looked like a tiramisu. I would even opt for choosing like a low fat cream, like a low fat squirty cream on the top. But I was trying to be a little bit better here. And the yogurt does increase the protein intake. Okay, so moving on to the Oreo truffles. These are literally 3 ingredients. They are so easy, so simple, and then you can decorate them with whatever you want. So you're literally going to pop a pack of Oreos into a blender or a food processor. A food processor is a little bit better, but I obviously don't have one of these, so I blended all of these Oreos together until I got almost like a powder. It was like a flour, and it smelled absolutely amazing. I was like, oh my gosh, I really want to eat this right now. Once I got the powder, I then literally poured it into the bowl and started mixing with some light cheese. So this was just like cream cheese, like Philadelphia. I just used Tesco's own brand and just made sure that it was light and literally mixed it all together. As you can see, it starts to become almost a little bit like a paste. And then I popped it into the refrigerator for around an hour. So after I got it out the fridge, I literally just used a spoon and scooped it into my hand and made it into some little truffles. This was so easy. I thought that it was gonna be really sticky, but where it had been in the fridge, it was really good. And the consistency just like stuck together. It was so easy to do. So once I rolled them into these little balls, I then put them back into the fridge again for another hour. So after another hour in the fridge, I used 2 forks and I'd melted some chocolate and literally popped the truffles into the chocolate, coated them fully, and popped them back onto the tray. One thing I would suggest is very quickly use the sprinkles on top. I literally just got some hundreds and thousands, some Christmas colours, and then a couple of little holly leaves to put on top of them. But definitely, like I said, do them really quickly because actually they started to set really fast. I think it was probably a little bit cold in my house. That was probably why. But again, pop them into the fridge for 10 minutes and they were good to go. Guys, these were honestly unbelievable, absolutely delicious, and I couldn't believe how amazing they were. If you're going to be trying anything, the truffles are the one to try from this. Honestly, so easy, so simple, and to die for. Matt could not stop eating these. Okay, so we're now on to this delicious salted caramel and apple mug cake. It was honestly unbelievable. So you start with a 1/4 cup of flour. Just plain flour is absolutely fine. Then half a teaspoon of baking powder and half a teaspoon of baking soda. And then also a tiny little bit of cinnamon. You can use any kind of winter spice, but cinnamon is definitely my preference. Always using My Protein's Flavor Drops. These are so easy. I just used vanilla and dropped it straight into there. Then I mix all of these bits and bobs together and made a little well for a tablespoon of milk, about a teaspoon of oil, and then a teaspoon of water. Then with another addition to the wet ingredients, you're just gonna use a tablespoon of apple sauce, 1.5 if you want to, just depends on your preference of apple, but honestly this is so amazing, so I definitely recommend using as much apple as possible. So then I literally mixed it all together and it went into a little batter consistency, and I used my ramekin, made sure that I sprayed it a little bit with some oil and then placed it straight into the ramekin. Obviously this is a mug cake, so you can use a mug as well, and there's two options. You can either put it into the microwave, or if you find that it's a little bit better, you can put it straight into the oven. The only thing I find with the microwave is it doesn't kind of brown it off at the top, so it's definitely my preference to put it in the oven, but if you need to be quick, a microwave will do it just fine. I popped it into the oven for around 20 minutes and this is exactly how it came out. So then topped with some caramel sauce, and honestly guys, it was absolutely unbelievable. So sweet, so easy, so delicious, and I would definitely recommend for a warm winter treat. Okay, so now we are moving on to a really simple recipe, and this is my puff pastry Christmas tree. I've seen this a couple of times and I've tried it and it's so delicious. My mum literally would not stop eating it. So all you're gonna do is use some Nutella, or you can even use the My Protein spread, the chocolate protein spread. I prefer to use Nutella just because it was a little bit sweeter, and I thought, why not, it's Christmas. So you're literally going to put 2 tablespoons of Nutella and you're going to spread it over 1 sheet of puff pastry. After that, you're then going to place another piece of puff pastry on top and then start cutting out the shape of your Christmas tree. Then you're going to start cutting some branches and you're going to twist them from either side. One thing that I would definitely suggest is kind of pulling them, so you pull and then twist, just so you get an extra stretch in the pastry. I did cut out a couple of shapes just because I had some left and just decided to make some little Christmas tree decorations. You then want to make sure that you wash it with some egg wash. I did add a couple of sprinkles on just to make it feel a little bit more Christmassy, but you're then going to pop it into the oven for around 15 to 20 minutes depending on what your puff pastry says. And voila, it came out looking super cute. I was very impressed. And I definitely think it's something you should try, especially if you're thinking like low cal. There is definitely a light option for the pastry, and you also can use the My Protein spread. It's like a mini chocolate twist. And finally, we are going on to this banana loaf. Now, I was going to make it a loaf, but I decided to make it into some little donut rings. So they weren't really donuts, they were cake, but just in the shape of donuts. So you're going to start with 1 banana, and I did put this into the oven just to make it a little bit more ripe because they were quite ripe, the bananas I had, and then I mushed them all together. Then you're going to add 1 whole cup of yogurt, 3/4 of a cup of Impact oats, 1 tablespoon of baking powder, 1 tablespoon of cinnamon, 2 scoops of protein powder, and 1/4 of a cup of stevia. Then you want to mix all of this together until it comes into a batter consistency. Then you want to whisk up 1 cup of egg whites until they are nice and fluffy. This took me absolutely ages, but I was very impressed with the final result. So then with the egg whites, as soon as they are fully whipped, I then folded them very carefully into the mixture. I did make sure that I did this carefully. Someone suggested to do it like this, and actually I really enjoyed it. It made the mixture feel like there was so much more, and it made all of the cakes feel like so light and airy. Then I sprayed some donut tins. So these are just some silicone ones. They're really easy to get in and out of the oven, and also really easy to cook with. So I literally just filled all of these donut rings with the mixture and popped them into the oven for around 20 minutes. Now, I really wanted to make these super Christmassy, so I just wanted to make some like glazed donuts. So I got some icing, so literally with icing sugar, some water, and then some food colouring, and I literally dipped them straight into the icing and moved them a little bit around to coat them fully. Now, the red ones looked so cute, but they did come out kind of pink. The green ones, not so cute, and I definitely would not recommend using a green icing sugar or food colouring because they just didn't look that nice at all. But you'll see at the end. They tasted great, they were really light, they were really airy, and I would definitely recommend making this recipe if you want something low cal, but still sweet and delicious.